Summer Soulstice Virtual 2021.
I've got the sun in my eyes and the music in my mouth.
Jon Jules, you've just come off your amazing
Sir
set.
James.
Amazing.
It's just wonderful to be involved with this because obviously it's such a great cause and it is a great gig, and it is one of those gigs on the calendar that you just have to be at.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has to be there. Every DJ in our genre aspires to play, and I'm just very lucky that you boys have brought me on board about 4 years ago. So I'd have walked here. I might have got here quicker if I walked here today.
I wasn't going to ask you that, but I've been asked to ask you. What happens on the M25 when you get there?
It's just a case of they just see me coming and decide everyone's going to stop. No, but honest, at least, you know what, I've got a lot better. Yeah. At least, can I remember the very last Field Dreams gig, obviously before COVID, I was on at 4 and I was running through the crowd with my stuff at 5 to 4. So yeah, it's just, I really want to get better. But I've got better, it's just other people.
Well, yeah, I agree, yeah, definitely.
Other people doing silly things.
So, what's Jon Jules been doing?
Apart from the fact that we've all been sitting here more or less twiddling our thumbs for the last 17 months, just praying for the day we can open up again, which is coming. But obviously the broadcasting with My Soul, which has been great, and I know you know all about that because you're there too. And literally just, that's it really. Nothing exciting, but I'm excited now because we're sort of coming back. We're out of this, and obviously it's been really, really bad. In the sense, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it doesn't really exist" and everything else, but we all know it does. And I'm just really excited about just getting back out there and just doing what we do and making people smile and making memories. And the wonderful thing about being here today as well is the fact that we are raising money for a really, really good cause and in memory of an absolute legend of a wonderful guy. Yeah. So long may that continue too.
Have you learned anything new while you've been in lockdown? Have you come up with, can you tap dance?
No, nothing like that.
I'll just paint?
No, because my wife paints everything that, even if it moves, she paints it. For example, she painted the house 3 times during lockdown.
Really?
Just driving me mad because it was just like, bored, I'm painting something, So I haven't learned to do that. But what I have learned is not to take anything for granted. That's the main thing. It's a case of, especially doing what we do, you sort of run around and, you sort of doing what you do, playing records or whatever. But when that's taken away from you, because, I'm, if you like, a career DJ, everything I do revolves around music, or a little bit like where we are right now. The guys, I know they've been, they're working hard on lots and lots of different things, installations, all that, and all of a sudden it just stops.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of time to reflect. And, I was in hospital in, nothing too major, but in October. And when you're lying in a bed in a very strange place for like 10 days, you've got a lot of time to think about certain things. And now it's a case of don't take anything for granted. And by the way, I'm fine because I'm Peter Pan, so that's it.
Well, we know, I've seen you fly across the car park. But I've got to ask you, right, so how long have you actually been DJing now?
Next year will be 40 years.
40?
Yeah, literally professionally. Because I started my first ever residency, I'm giving my age away now, I started very young. Yeah. I started when I was 17, my first residency, and I owned record shops at the age of, started at 17, had a normal job. When I was 21, I was an hour price manager. So I was so into music, I decided I was going to leave my proper job, as it were, and go and work for Our Price, which was a proper job to a point. But, I was promoted quite quickly because of my knowledge of music, not just different genres and stuff. And I went to go on holiday for 3 weeks, and my area manager said, no, you can't do that. You can only have a week. If you want any longer, you've got to leave. So basically, I went to work for a specialist record shop, but I went on my holiday, came back, started the DJing thing a little bit more at 21, and haven't looked back. Ended up owning the shops when I was 23. So everything's just been music. Obviously, I sort of, had family, got married, all that sort of stuff. So I didn't do all the crazy stuff like run around, the Ibiza stuff. Did it at the very beginning, but sort of thought, no, I can't do that.
You grow out of it, don't you? To a degree, you grow out.
Yes and no, because a lot of the people that I was actually, that were there at the forefront are still doing it now. And a lot of them, the likes of Carl Cox, Pete Tong, Paul Oakenfold, Trevor Fung, they're all still doing it now, but, doing what they're doing. So I was sort of around that, and I sort of stepped back, had my children, all that stuff. And I was always still a working DJ, but I was doing places like, the Hippodrome in Leicester Square. I was there for 10 years. Clubs like that. Charlie Chan's over in Walthamstow. I was running around. I was up in Ipswich. I was all over the place. But it was more just, because it was more of a job, if you like. But now, all of a sudden, like in the last 10 years, I suppose, my passion was always, our genre of music. And I was lucky enough to sort of start doing a few bits and pieces. And, it's a case of, it's a way of life. It's just like, the Eagles, Hotel California, you could check at any time you like, but you could never leave. And I could never, ever leave and, doing what we were doing. I remember going to Summer Soulstice as a punter. I think it was the second one when it was a lot smaller. I was like, wow, this is sort of the sort of thing I want to be doing. All of a sudden, at the age of 56, I'm like running around like a 26-year-old again. But I love it and I wouldn't change it for the world.
You've been on the other side as well. You've been on the other side.
I have.
Of the music industry.
Yes.
You've been in front of the camera.
Yes.
With your shoulder pads.
With my shoulder pads and my dodgy suits. And yeah, I've done that too.
What side do you prefer?
Oh, this side. Basically, that was fun. The Nat was, it was once again in the very early days, sort of 87, 88. There were no DJ producers, as it were. And I was introduced to a young guy, he was only 17 at the time. His name was Steve Mack. He was a young tape hop, because his dad was Shack Attack's manager and executive producer, all that sort of stuff. And it was through the shop. It's through a guy, his name was Darren Ensom, actually. He used to work for a company called PRT. He noticed one day I had my guitar in the shop. Says, "Oh, do you play?" "Oh, yeah, I played guitar when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Well, you should get in, do it again." So I remember meeting Steve, and we decided we made 2 records in a week. The first one was a sort of a housey sort of thing. It was called We Can Make It, and we called ourselves Awesome, ORR-SOME. And the second one was a cover. I said, I really fancy doing, because it was the Soul to Soul, that sound hadn't broken it, but was just coming up. And we made a cover of Minnie Riperton's Loving You. And I said, if I make a record like that, I want it to be a hit record. So, and Steve was he was 17, but he knew, great piano player and everything else. So we made this record. It hit the top 20, and that was all a bit weird. But we were making all these wonderful soul records in the meantime, and nothing was happening with them. And then one day, I introduced Steve to another DJ that used to come in the shop, who said he could sing a bit. So I said, okay, well, introduce me to Steve. And he was actually doing stuff when we were Mass Evo. And we done For the Laugh cover of Jerry Rafferty's Baker Street. And it was for the laugh. I'll tell you why it was for the laugh. Because we were somewhere, and we heard KWS, Please Don't Go. And all 3 of us looked at each other and went, this is awful. And then all of a sudden it was number 1. So it was like, right, okay, let's do this. I can even tell you the date. It was the 9th of May, 1992. We were recording other bits, or just messing about in the studio. And we decided that we were going to do a cover of Baker Street. And it was the FA Cup final day. So at 10:30, Steve set it up. We'd done sort of a basic backing track. John went in and sung it. We went to watch the FA Cup final in the pub around the corner. Then Steve went in on the Sunday, mixed it a little bit more, then sent it to our management company on the Monday. On the Wednesday, he's ringing us up saying, we've got to master that because Pete Waterman has gone mad for it and he wants to sign it. So the record was actually made in about, realistically, 5-6 hours. Wow. And it was it went mad.
It's a PWL record label, wasn't it? Yeah.
So it's PWL over in this country, which, okay, a lot of people don't realise. They didn't realise at the time, but Pete Waterman is a big soul boy anyway.
Yeah.
Matt Stock and Mike Aitken were our soul boys, and that's why all their records had that tinge, apart from, some of the things they made. But look at the Roadblock thing. Do you remember that? That
was a big scam in a way, because
Absolutely.
Everyone thought, because at that time, the Rare Groove.
Absolutely. What was that?
Happening.
1988.
Yeah.
And because James Hamilton was one of my customers. Me and James are very close. In fact, when I first went to work in the store in Rayners Lane, the first person that I saw walk through the door was this 6'6" big guy. "Oh, hello, my name's James." And that's when I just worked there, so we had a great relationship. And so I saw him 3 times a week for 8 years, But when the roadblock thing came in, because I used to get all the imports, because I was the closest to the airport, I'd get stuff before London. It was great. So, you know, this record came in, we opened it, we played it, and it was like, this is great. And obviously no one knew. But
No one knew, it was
I
a
was
red
sworn,
label.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
I was sworn to secrecy about 3 weeks in, because I found out, I was like, hang on a minute, there's something not right here. And obviously I was to speak to Mike Sefton, who was at A&M Breakout, who put it out. And then it was like, I could smell a rat, so I was like, and then so Mike said, okay. And James obviously knew about it. Just little things like that. So that's one of the reasons why when Pete Waterman wanted to sort of sign this record, I was like, you know what? It's not a bad thing, because people don't realise, again, he used to have the Gull label.
Yeah.
You know, so things like Bunny Maloney, Baby I've Been Missing You came out on that label, which is a big reggae thing. Admittedly, typically Tropical Barbados did as well. But, you know, he was predominantly signing all these great records and putting them out. So, yeah, that was the PWL journey, which was quite funny. I got in after that. That's when, you know, I decided to take a back seat, because not infighting in the band as such, but, you know, the lead singer decided he wanted to do one thing. Steve, by that time, he'd been writing songs, so he wanted to do more of that. We set up a label in the back of the shop in London. We called it Rockstone, which he's taken on, and that's Rockstone Productions is one of the biggest production companies on the planet now, but that's his thing, and you know, I'm cool with that. I've earned a load of money, but it's fine, you know. But yeah, Steve basically, he went that way, and he started, you know, he did all the Westlife stuff. He did at the moment he's doing Ed Sheeran and God knows what else. But we still speak occasionally. It's great, you know. But I had kids, and I got into management because my nephew was signed to Mercury as a 17-year-old straight out of school. They didn't really know what to do with him. You know, the production, he was produced by, I don't know if you remember, there's a production company years ago called Brock Pocket.
Yeah.
They did his first record and all this sort of stuff. But nothing really happened. So through my connections with PWL and with Steve, I decided to manage him. We put this band together around him. They were called Third Edge, and Parlophone spent £1 million on marketing them. They had 2 top 20 singles. But after their album didn't come out, around about 2001, I decided, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. So, but I've always been around the music industry.
But you've got the production skills as well. I mean, you know, I know when I listen to you DJ, you're not just the DJ that fades in, fades out, has a chat and has a laugh. You actually take people on a journey while you're working.
Well, what it is, it's like when you're dancing, you're into music as much as we are, because I know you're the same. You are a part of what, you know, you're part of what's going on in that dance floor or whatever. It's not just a case of standing there like, unfortunately, some of these big boys in the house, you know, oh, I'm the DJ, do I like really me? I just don't get that, you know. And it's just a case of I hear something, all of a sudden, maybe because of my musical background, I will hear what key, and all of a sudden you think, oh, that will go with that. And I couldn't tell you ever what I'm going to play. Like, for example, today I followed you. You were playing something up tempo, and I went, oh, I want to play this. And all of a sudden, it just falls into place. Yeah. It really does. So, you know, all of the mixing, malarkey, and all that sort of stuff, I suppose, that stems back from my days with DMC and all that. But having said that, it's just a case of I don't ever practice, I don't try and hone it, and I never ever realistically, I don't know, choreograph anything.
Yeah.
It's just what you feel. You're the same, most of the people that are involved with this gig are the same. There's a lot of guys that are doing what we do that are exactly the same, you know. It's just a case of
it's
whatever you're
feeling.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just being a part of what you're doing,
yeah.
You know. Because at the end of the day, what I'm playing what I think that everybody would want to dance to, and how they'd like to dance to it. So, you know, there's no pretense about it.
Do you put yourself in their position?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, because I remember as a kid, I was like, you know, I was reading the music, but I was reading to the dancing side as well, and then all of a sudden it get a bit creaky, so you stop doing that. But no, it's just, it is a way of life. It really is. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, long may it continue, because we're all of that age bracket now where we were there 40 years ago. Like, you know, I'll never forget. I used to have a residency down in Folkestone, in a club in Folkestone. This would have been like mid-90s. And there was a big hotel called the Bursted, and every weekend they had a weekender going on. It was either like a rockabilly weekend or just a weekend or whatever. And at the time, I was, you know, mid-90s, 25 years old. So I've driven down there, I'm doing my gig and I'm staying in a hotel and there'll be all this noise and all these older people running around having a great time. And I'll be thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm sure, will I be doing that at their age? Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are, and we're still doing it and we're still having a great time because it's all about making memories.
I suppose in a way we're blessed with going through the eras of music. I mean, with myself, I started DJing in 1974 and going through that 70s era and then going into the 80s and the 90s and then the double O's and that sort of stuff. Same as yourself. And learning those eras where sometimes you see DJs go, yes, I can play soul music. But they'll only skim off the top of what they know.
Yes.
But people like yourself,
well, it's
the box is a bit deeper than...
Exactly, it's a case of just knowledge. I remember being like 1974, as you say, wow, I remember I was more or less gutted. Years ago, I went to the Case to Soul weekend when I was 15. I was the youngest one out of the crowd of people that we used to get, my older sisters who were, that got me into music. For example, I spoke to Chris Amu the other day from The Real Thing, and I was just blown away because this is a guy that was my idol when I was like 8, 9 years old, listening to You To Me I Everything, Can't Get By Without You, just digging even deeper than that, the James Brown stuff from 71. I was 5 years old. But, it didn't resonate then. But as you got a little bit older and you got right into it, I remember my dad going bonkers because he'd come home from work, I'd have a speaker outside my bedroom window while I was playing football with my mates and have we'd have something playing. It'd probably be a jazz thing, or just be whatever. My nephew was 40 the other day, and I said to him, because when the day he was born, I went home and I just bought the Morrissey Mother and Badness album, and I played Slipstream for the first, and stuff like that. I said to him, look, I'm going to play a record that the day you were born, I played it to him. He was like, how do you remember that stuff? Because it's just a way of life. It does that to you. Yeah. It really does.
So, before we wind up, what's Jon Jules got lined up for the future?
I'm just going to carry on with this wonderful journey that we're all on together. The broadcasting seems to be going the right way. I love doing that because I always say I'm a club guy that does a bit of broadcasting. A little bit like somebody sitting opposite me. You're a club guy who does some broadcasting. There's not many of us that can do both. Well, there's a lot of them that think they can, but unfortunately, there's not a load of people that can do both. So, I like to. I'm happy that I'm in that category. But it's just a case of just keep on smiling, keep humble, just keep doing what you're doing and just keep on making people happy. Simple. That is the be all and end all of it. It really is.
It's an honour and a pleasure to sit down and have a chat with you.
Honest to God, it is like more of an honour and a pleasure for me to be sitting there talking to you with these wonderful guys and in this wonderful environment. It really is.
Just before you go,
yes,
vinyl, CD, or disc or stick?
Being totally honest, I am definitely onto the new media, i.e. the USB stuff, because all those wonderful records that we've bought and collected all those years ago, you can actually install them on a little thing this big and they sound better than the record half the time. Vinyl, obviously, record shop owner, loads of them. Everybody loves vinyl until they've got to move house. Seriously, everybody loves it until they've got to move house. But
Jon Jules, thank you so much.
It's my absolute honour and pleasure talking to you, James. Thank you.
God bless you.